Welcome to the Just Because Diaries, where real life meets random chats and plenty of mom moments, all while reclaiming joy in the seemingly mundane. I'm Celeste, a mom, but also a whole-ass person, navigating the balance of motherhood while rediscovering the joy in doing things just for myself. From the chaos of parenting to the little moments that make life fun, nothing is off limits. So grab a cup of coffee or something stronger, and let's get into it. If you've ever sat down with a to-do list and somehow felt less capable of doing anything at all, this episode is for you. Today, we are talking all about what happens when that to-do list freezes you in place, why the answer isn't always a better plan, and how organizing a toy room, obsessing over romantasy, and hanging a disco ball can bring everything back into focus. I have been feeling so overwhelmed lately because I feel like I have a never-ending to-do list of a whole bunch of little things that need to be done on top of things that I actually want to do. And instead of finding motivation in my checklist, it seems to have triggered my fight or flight response, I guess, because it completely froze me. I sat down to figure out what I needed to do, knowing everything that needs to be done, and I just couldn't do anything. I didn't know where to start or what I should start with. So I just sat there feeling super overwhelmed. And it was just really strange because I was trying desperately to get myself organized, but I just couldn't. My brain was just stuck. And then on top of all of that, my anxiety started to make me spiral because I kept thinking, well, you better figure it out because Keely's nap is only so long, or, well, you're running out of time. You have to go pick up Miles soon. Or then I would even add more things to my to-do list, like, what are we even going to have for dinner tonight? I should go get some groceries. And it just made everything even worse. And this is a super weird analogy, but I felt like I was Wile E. Coyote chasing down the Roadrunner, which in this case was my to-do list. But every single time I would try to catch it, I would just end up with a giant anvil dropped on my head that kept me stuck. And no matter how much I tried again and again and again, the result was always the same. I would have an anvil and another one over and over again. And I didn't know how to get past it. So I just started physically writing things down, and I made a physical checklist with boxes that I could actually tick off with my hand and a pen, because this whole time this list was just living in my brain, and that was helpful for me. I'm very much a visual person, if you couldn't guess from my very strange Looney Tunes analogy. So just being able to see what I needed to do versus thinking about it and having it live in my head was immensely helpful in the moment, but it also didn't alleviate that much, if you know what I mean. So I decided to start with something that I assumed would be a huge pain in the ass to do, and that was renewing my passport. I had been putting this one off for a while now because I just did not want to go through the whole rigmarole of having to do it in person. However, when I went to start the passport process, I learned that if your passport was issued between 2011 and 2017, I think, don't quote me, but if it was issued between a certain amount of time, you can renew your passport online as long as you meet all of their criteria and everything, which was fantastic because I did. So then the hardest part of this task became having to put on makeup and take a picture. Easy peasy. But I decided that I didn't want to go somewhere to have someone else take my picture because you only ever really get one shot at that. And in my past experiences, it never turns out great. Like, I hate my license photo to no end. But anyway, I looked up the requirements for a U.S. passport photo, and I decided I would just take a selfie against a white wall with some decent natural lighting and call it a day. So I took a ton of different pictures. Some were closer, some farther away, smiling, not smiling, closed mouth smiling, because I wanted all of the options in case they didn't accept whichever one I selected, which good thing I did that because they did not accept my number one choice because I was smiling normally with teeth and they deemed that unnatural. So I tried not to take offense to that and ended up having to go with a closed mouth smile photo, but that was literally the hardest part. Other than taking the picture, I just filled out the application, paid, and pressed submit. So if you too have been putting off renewing your passport, never fear, because they've finally caught up with the freaking times, and doing it online was so very simple in the end. But even though I was checking things off of my list and technically doing what I was supposed to be doing to help myself feel less overwhelmed, my brain still would not shut off. Thankfully, and perfectly timed, David had booked me in for a massage in the midst of all of my overwhelm. It was my Christmas present, and I was so excited for it because I absolutely love this spa, and also, who doesn't love a good massage? I had a masseuse that I had never seen before. Julie was her name, and she was so friendly and so nice. And as she began the massage, she started by massaging my scalp, which is honestly one of my most favorite things in the world. And as she's doing that, she says to me, if you're thinking about anything, like any to-do lists or anything like that, just try to keep those thoughts away and focus on being in the moment for a little while. And I literally said, how did you know? This is exactly where my brain was, and I was fighting myself inside my head to relax and not think of everything I had to do. And she just said she's been in the business a long time and she can always tell when a client is kind of drifting that way. And then she didn't say anything for the rest of the massage, so it was just me and my inner thoughts again. But I was so glad that she said something, because even though I was fighting with myself to turn my brain off and relax, there was something about having someone else say, hey, it's okay to let those things go for now and just relax. Because even rest is hard when you're feeling overwhelmed and overloaded. And once I got home and noticed that even after resting and after this amazing massage, there was still something sitting heavy in my chest, it became pretty obvious what it was. The one giant task that was literally staring me straight in the face since Christmas, the kids' toy room. It was an explosion of stuff, old stuff, new stuff, stuff I thought had been put away forever that somehow resurfaced again. So much freaking stuff. And it was making me crazy. Usually, Miles is fully responsible for maintaining the tidiness in his toy room, and Keely will be too when she's older, but this was beyond anything that he could do. I didn't know where all the things were going to go, let alone how he was going to figure it out. So I got started one day during Keely's nap, and I didn't know where to begin because, again, there was stuff everywhere. But I just chose something and I got to work. And soon 2 hours had passed and David came downstairs, and I was stuck in the middle of piles and piles of toys and crafts and cardboard. And I was like, I swear this is better than what it was, even though it looks much, much worse. I swear that there is improvement here. And he just laughed and offered to help. But I was like, no, believe it or not, there is a system here. And I just need to do this myself. Eventually, I decided that what I really needed in that room was more storage. So I ended up getting a Anyway, one of those units. And then I spent all day Sunday building it and then going back into the toy room to continue with the chaos of getting it organized. And by some miracle, it is back to a normal room. It took me all day long, but the kids can now see their toys. They can find them. They can play in the toy room. What a concept. And as soon as I was done with that insane task, I felt so much better. It felt like a weight was physically lifted off of me. I was actually telling one of my best friends about this whole task. She actually got to see the toy room at the peak of its disaster. Lucky girl. And she said, it's literally like taking a deep breath, isn't it? And it was. I am not usually one that's bothered by clutter. I do love and I really appreciate organization. But if things pile up here and there every now and then, it doesn't bother me. David, on the other hand, he is a whole different story. But it was surprising to me how crazy the toy room was making me feel. But as soon as it was done and tidied, the rest of the to-do list didn't feel so overwhelming anymore. And honestly, it made me think about my frozen moment in a totally different way. When I think back to that moment where I was sitting there staring at my to-do list, completely stuck, I don't actually think what I needed was a better plan. And that's what I was trying to come up with. I know that there are a million calendars and systems and checklists online that tell you exactly what you should be doing on which day and all of that jazz. But the truth is, some days, maybe the thing that helps most is tackling the one task that's been weighing on you. And some days, yes, I will organize the toy room. And some days I will read a book during Keely's nap instead of mopping the floors. And I am trying to let both of those things be okay. So sue me. Alrighty, now for my favorite part of each episode, the Just Because moment, where we talk whimsy and all things that bring joy. First things first, I feel like I need to get this off of my chest. I am so addicted to the Everflame series by Penn Cole. I needed something new to listen to on walks and remembered that a book talk influencer that I follow had raved about this series, so I started listening to the audiobooks, and now I can't stop thinking about them. I am fully in this world, and usually I don't feel this way with audiobooks. Normally I have to actually read a book to really feel like I'm immersed in a world. But man, I don't know. This series has just got me totally hooked. And I just love the main male character so much. I won't say his name. I don't feel like it's a spoiler, but just in case. But my love for him also has me kind of questioning what that says about me. And you might also question that too if you have read or are reading the series. But anyway, I just desperately needed to tell someone about this series and wanted to recommend it. Should you be looking for any kind of romantasy, slow burn, enemies to lovers type of material? Also, I would say that it's like a 1 on the scale of spice. So don't be intimidated to listen to it. You already know about my audiobook ick, so I would not steer you wrong there. And speaking of romantasy, happy 1-year anniversary to Onyx Storm today. I can't believe it has already been 1 whole year since my heart was absolutely trampled on. Honestly, I don't know how I can love a series that shatters me to pieces as much as I freaking do, but I can't wait for the final book to come out. Whenever Rebecca Yarros is ready, that is, which, by the way, I think it is just so amazing how she has been so open about how she is choosing to take some time in between Onyx Storm and the final book as her own form of personal self-care. We love a public figure who speaks openly and honestly about mental health and boundaries and self-care. So, happy Onyx Storm Day, and thank you, Rebecca Yarros, for being you. In other news, I attempted to make sourdough again, and it was not an epic failure this time. For Christmas, I received all of the legit sourdough supplies, so I had to put them all to good use. No pressure. I also used my sister Katie's 100-year-old Italian starter that she got from Etsy that we were super skeptical about, but it's actually amazing. And I am very pleased to share that my loaf did turn out. However, it did get a little bit burnt on the top and bottom, so that was a bit disappointing. Before I baked my loaf, my sister had actually mentioned putting a pizza stone in the oven to help with that exact problem. So I did that, but my pizza stone started smoking like crazy, and we all know how my fire alarm likes to behave, so I ended up taking it out and it burnt. But my sourdough expert bestie told me to try placing a baking tin with some water in the bottom next time, so I will be trying that for sure, along with probably also lowering my oven temperature because I feel like maybe my oven just runs really hot too. But anyway, if you have any ideas or tried and true methods to prevent burning your loaf and my ego, please shoot me an email to thejustbecausediaries@gmail.com with all of your sage advice and wisdom. If you have been with me from the very start of this podcast, first of all, thank you so much for your amazing support. But you may remember my episode where I was talking about taking our family photos. Well, after years of living in our house and having blank walls in our living room, I am so pleased to share that we have finally put up our family photos. And now that has led to a full-on snowball effect where I am fully invested in decorating that room. And with the whole whimsy mentality I'm going for, I have been trying to think of fun dopamine decor type of things that I can put on the other walls. And somehow in that thought process, I decided that I needed a disco ball to be involved somehow. So I started searching, and then I accidentally discovered this disco ball and crystal mobile. And I knew that I must have it. And I also knew exactly where it needed to go. But it was a bit of a risk because it had 0 reviews, so I was a little worried that I was going to get it and it was going to be complete and total trash, but thankfully it was not. It did arrive at nighttime though, so we didn't know what to do and we ended up deciding to just hang it up anyway. But the next morning, listen, it was magic. Like, fill your heart with childlike wonder magic. The window that it's in front of gets a lot of morning light in the winter. So when we woke up and we came downstairs, our living room was filled with little moving rainbows and disco ball sparkles, and it brought us all so much joy. It was the best way to start our day, and it still is. We love it so much. It's like this little reminder every morning when we wake up to find the magic in the day and to hold on to that feeling of the childlike wonder. And it's all from this little $20 mobile that I accidentally found. So buy the weird things that bring you joy. Go for the dopamine decor. Fill your living room with rainbows and sparkles for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Just follow your whimsy and email me at thejustbecausediaries@gmail.com with your photos, or tag me in them on Instagram at thejustbecausediaries. I would love to see what brings you joy and also get some inspo for my own dopamine decor. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Just Because Diaries. I love reading your emails, so shoot me a message anytime about anything to thejustbecausediaries@gmail.com, and you may just be mentioned in a future episode. Also, give me a follow on Instagram at thejustbecausediaries. And finally, it would mean the world to me if you could please take a few seconds to rate and review my podcast by hitting that 5-star button and leaving me a little love note in the review section. And please share this episode with a friend who you think might enjoy being part of this budding community. Thank you so much again for listening. I so appreciate you being here, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.